thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Friday, June 13th. It's Friday the 13th, you guys. And Jenny Beth, you're going to love this one, Jenny Beth.
That it's fucking Friday? You're right, Jason Beck.
Nope, that's not what I was going to say, but cute.
No.
Are you ready?
Go try it. Try me.
Mm-hmm. It's National Golf Cart Day.
Oh, I do love it.
See?
Good job. You got one
It's
right.
almost like he knows you.
See, you know? People tell me to push them, and I push them, and then they're excited. They're like, "Oh, thank you so much for pushing me."
But you say I'm picking on the disabled.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Movie Night.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, with that.
Oh, Gwen Barney should be excited.
Yes. It's also National Random Acts of Light Day.
Acts of light.
Yes. You want?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you want me to go into this one, Jesse. This is actually a pretty cool one. Hold on a second. Let me pull this.
Oh,
Random Acts of Light Day. Okay, you guys.
Spiritual light.
Oftentimes, it takes just one gentle word or a small token to help overcome darkness. On June 13th, National Random Acts of Light Day encourages us to bring light to the darkness of cancer by surprising someone with an act of kindness.
Oh, I love that. My grandma is actually doing her last chemotherapy, I believe, today.
See, I told you. This is Random Act of Light Day, Jenny Beth.
So shout out to my nana.
Yes.
When is National Smack a Bitch Day? Because I need to celebrate that one. I'm supposed to be ready to
That's every
participate
day
fully.
for you, Jen.
Interesting. I didn't realize you were so violent, Jenny Beth.
I'm not. But it's just,
Just bitches, dude. Just bitches.
I'm festive.
Well, since you're so festive, are you going to be cooking dinner tonight? Because today is National Kitchen Klutzes of America Day.
Well, I'm not a klutz, but I actually am. He requested fried chicken, so I will be cooking dinner tonight.
Oh, me and Gwen really want your fried chicken.
I was actually on a call. Last night.
Do. We talk about it all the time.
Hold on. She's not being truly transparent right now. She's not being truly transparent. We were on a call last night with my buddy and her and whatnot. And we were started talking about fried chicken, and we were like, "Oh yeah, we bet Jenny Beth can make good fried chicken." And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh yeah, I want fried chicken."
No, we had already planned on making fried chicken.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Thank you.
Of course.
I make a pretty darn good fried chicken myself. I will say.
I bet you do. Yeah, no, we talked about making fried chicken yesterday at lunch, which was way before we talked to you. But anyhow,
sure.
I'm going to make it about you, Jason.
Sure,
And,
Jenny.
A wise man once said, "I'll never hit a woman, but I'll slap the shit out of a bitch."
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Speaking of which, it's National Weed Your Garden Day today.
Put weed in your garden, guys.
That's terrible advice because you just disturb the soil and get more weeds. You should actually just, instead of weeding, you should plant more beneficial things that will compete with the weeds and beat the weeds out.
Interesting strategy there, Jesse.
It is the strategy.
Here we go. I got one more for you, Jenny Beth.
Uh-huh.
It's National Sewing Machine Day.
I got a special one too. Happy birthday, Troy Lawrence. Boop, 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 boop.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Troy. Happy birthday, Troy. It's also Wear Blue Day. And National, and this is Jenny's favorite right here, National Blame Someone Else Day.
That sounds like a Jason Beck holiday if I ever heard one.
Oh man. Oh boy, you guys are funny. You guys are so funny, you guys. It's also too, Jenny Beth, you mentioned it was Troy Lawrence's birthday. Also too, on Wednesday, I forgot to mention this. I got in trouble. I got yelled at. So I'm sorry. But
you better not be Aunt Linda and you forgot her.
It was there was just a lot going on. I didn't forget her. I just, you know what I'm saying? I forgot to mention it, so I apologize. But happy birthday to my Aunt Linda, Jenny Beth. What do you got to say?
That's why I'm her favorite, because happy birthday, Aunt Linda.
Mm-hmm. That's all you got to say.
I'm going to push him over for you.
That's so rude. She doesn't appreciate those kinds of things.
She will. You forgot her birthday. Aunt Linda's down with the get down. You know she is.
She's not, yeah, but I'm her favorite nephew. I'm her favorite nephew.
Happy birthday, Aunt Linda. I hope you hit all the slots today.
There we go. I'm sure that's what she wants to hear right there. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from. And we are going to kick this thing off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back on track. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Happy Friday, everybody. Did I get canned applause this morning, Jason, or are we not appreciating me anymore today?
Of course you got canned applause. Just because you can't hear it don't mean they not exist. It's like Jesus. That's sometimes.
True. You know what? That's true. That's true. All right, so this bitch. A former Colorado middle school teacher is now facing legal consequences after a 2024 incident at Kepner Beacon Middle School. Sharon Wilson, age 55, Miss Wilson, you know better, was found guilty this week of 2 counts of misdemeanor child abuse. The charges stem from allegations that she gave 2 6th-grade students marijuana-laced brownies as a prize for naming the most Greek and Latin root words in class. First of all, rude. According to the jury's verdict, the students, one just 13 years old, had no idea the brownies contained THC. One student described feeling strange and having munchies moments after eating them, while the other said he felt ill and really out of it, later showing up at home with bloodshot eyes. Wilson has served over 22 years with Denver Public Schools and was known for bringing homemade treats to class. Though she denies any wrongdoing, her attorney insists this batch was simply freezer burn, not drug, and argues there's no real proof linking marijuana to the brownies the students ate. She was placed on paid leave after the 2023-24 school year and has since separated from the district. The sentencing date has not been yet set. All right, couple things to unpack here. Your defense is my brownies were freezer burnt, not laced with weed. Yeah, I don't know, dude. That makes absolutely 0 sense to me. And number 2, I don't see you getting convicted unless they drug tested these children and found marijuana in their system.
Right.
So are we sure that there was weed in the brownies?
She was convicted, Jason. She's waiting to be sentenced. She was convicted.
Yeah, but they might have been tested a false positive.
For just those 2 kids?
Just saying.
She might not have cleaned her KitchenAid out after she made her pot brownies for herself, but either way, this is probably, I don't think that she intentionally did it, but the sheer amount of negligence that was involved, it involved 2 freaking 13-year-olds getting pot brownies. You just can't do it, Jason. You got to be smarter than that, bucko.
So are we basically saying are we saying right now that basically are we saying that are we saying that basically that that she basically she made weed brown. Hold on, Jenny. Hold on, Jenny.
Fentanyl because he didn't clean the scale. I'm saying she was sloppy in the kitchen.
She made weed brownies at home and and she didn't clean the pan afterwards. And then she just bakes some regular brownies afterwards, and so there's like some residue in there. Is that what the claim is?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's the out that I'm giving her for not doing this intentionally. I'm saying she was sloppy and didn't.
Oh, you're trying to give her an out.
That's why you can't eat at everybody's house. No, I'm trying to give her an out that after 22 years as a public school teacher, she would not intentionally give edibles to children.
Maybe she did. Maybe she was like, hey, these kids are all, all excited all the time and they need to be calmed the hell down.
Then she should be locked up under somebody's jail and never let out.
Well, boy, that took a fast shift right there.
Well,
what do you think,
listen,
Jesse?
They're kids. We know that weed is not harmful, but we also know that developing minds that aren't fully developed yet shouldn't be consuming it. And we send our kids to learn. That's why they go to school, to learn things.
Maybe she was trying to give them a higher education, Jenny Beth.
I'm done with you, Jason Beck, today.
Just saying.
Sounds like they got a higher education whether they wanted it or not.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, man. Here. That's why they,
Hey, listen, I'm not high. My joint just got freezer burn.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
The article didn't say anything about the proof or the testing or how the conviction happened.
Mm-hmm.
Just was like she was convicted.
Well, I mean, it's you could read the article. I summarized it, but at this point, it's Denver. They're used to this kind of shit. I think
Are they?
Denver would have a pretty good idea on how to test if there's actually weed in something or not,
And
it's pretty easy to test 2 13-year-olds pee-pee.
Did they admit the brownie pan as evidence?
I don't know, Jason. You want to call and ask?
There's so only 2 students got them. Like they were the only ones that got awarded.
Yeah, they knew the most Latin and Greek root words, so the 2 of them got a brownie prize.
This is classic.
What's the root word for dumbass? Because that's what this
Or
teacher is.
It's very possible too. If there was it's not like she brought an entire pan of brownies for the entire class, right? So it looks like maybe she just mixed up the brownies at home. She had her own and she brought 2 in and she was probably stoned on her own brownies.
She had
stoned on her own supply and she mixed up the
brownies.
She had a magical butter or something all of a sudden, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brought in the wrong 2 brownies from the wrong
Dr.
pan.
Dr. T, how much of a serious medical concern is this in all reality? These 6th graders?
Not at all. It's no harm, no foul. I don't even know why they brought this in. The brain effects are not well proven in young children. There are many young children with serious medical conditions taking both THC and CBD.
Mm-hmm.
This is. I need to know more.
I think the bigger issue for me as a parent is a parent of a 6th grader who just finished 6th grade. We've just got through our first year of middle school, praise God. That the parents didn't get a choice to say, hey, can you give my kid an edible? Like, they sent the kids to school to learn. The kids got given weed brownies. Oopsie poopsie, it was an accident. Yes, thank God it was just a weed brownie. So we know that the kids are medically going to be fine. But the teacher fucked up here.
Well, no harm, no foul. And also, let's congratulate the kids for being such great students.
Give them some brownies.
I said congratulations. Good work.
Oh, no, so no reward, just a pat on the back.
Yeah, give them something healthier too.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
What do you want to give them, Dr. T? Like a Humboldt goo ball?
Oh, one of those birdseed balls?
The Humboldt goo balls, where they're made with I'm pretty sure it's like distillate or something.
They're made with birdseed.
Granola.
A whole bunch of birdseed.
The healthier alternative, if we're going to drug the kids, we got to do it in a health conscious way.
I mean, the common sense here really is if you're a teacher and you make weed brownies at home, which she admitted, as I'm looking up in the story, she did admit that she did commonly make cannabis brownies. So if you're going to do that, don't bring brownies from home for the kids and maybe accidentally bring the wrong ones. That's just...
Well, yeah. And homemade foods, feeding homemade foods to somebody else's children, especially if you're a public school teacher tasked with making sure these kids are safe, is already a bad idea, right? Because what if you accidentally contaminate something and they get food poisoning? Like, now you're liable for that too. Like, just, ma'am, they make these little brownies. The little Debbie lady makes them. They come in little packages of 2. They have little colorful candies in them, and they're fucking delicious. Give those to the kids.
You know, lots of people take LSD and put them on gummy bears and put them in a gummy bear thing. And so it's a good thing she didn't do that and then bring them gummy bears.
Theo just brought me a diaper.
Oh, that's cute. And on that,
Good
we're going
job,
to roll into
Theo.
our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Yeah, you guys, man. You know, doctors, I love a good Dr. Friday with you guys, and I have a medical story for you guys coming up next. Hope you guys like this one, you guys. Because the University of California needs participants for 5 cannabis clinical trials, you guys. That's right. The University of California, San Diego, UCSD, is actively recruiting participants for 5 ongoing clinical trials related to cannabis. These studies, some of which have been ongoing since 2021, with others beginning more recently, all represent one of the most comprehensive university-led research efforts on marijuana's medical applications currently underway in the United States. Each study focuses on a different therapeutic area, and all are currently open for eligible volunteers, you guys. Man, the trial of cannabis derivatives in neuropathic pain, targeting veterans with high-impact chronic neuropathic pain, CNP. This 4-arm randomized trial compares THC, CBD, a THC plus CBD combination, and placebo. The goal is to determine the safety and efficacy of cannabinoids in reducing pain. The study is enrolling veterans who are not current cannabis users and who meet strict diagnostic criteria for neuropathic pain. Completion is expected by June of 2027, you guys. And then next is the brain mechanism supporting cannabis-induced pain relief, led by Dr. Fadel Zidane. This pilot study examines how vaporized cannabis relieves acute pain by observing changes in cerebral blood flow using advanced fMRI techniques. Participants between 21 and 65 undergo controlled heat simulation tests following cannabis administration via a volcano vaporizer. Participants receive either cannabis with 5.1% THC or a placebo. And researchers collect both behavioral pain ratings and neurological data to access cannabis's direct effects on brain activity related to pain. The study runs through March of 2027. Then we have the cannabis use, cognition, and endocannabinoid system in HIV. Dr. Arapi Misanian is leading a randomized study to explore how low-level cannabis use affects cognitive performance and the endocannabinoid system in people with and without HIV. Participants aged 18 to 65 and infrequent cannabis users are randomized to receive THC, CBD, or placebo for 5 days, and researchers measure risk-taking, decision-making, and reward leaning with biomakers like hemovanolic acid. Did I say that right, you guys? Homovanillic acid. The study will conclude by January of 2026. And there's also the effects of cannabidiol and tetrahydrocannabidiol on microbiome and neuroinflammation in HIV. This randomized crossover study led by Dr. Ronald Ellis investigates how 14-day courses of oral THC and CBD affect inflammation, the gut microbe, and the blood-brain barrier in people with and without HIV, using fecal metagenomics and blood and CSF analysis. The study will determine whether cannabinoids reduce HIV-associated systemic and neuroinflammation, and it runs through October 2027 and includes 100 total participants. And of course, there's finally effects and mechanisms of a high CBD cannabis extract for CRPS, also led by Dr. Fadel Zadayan. This study focuses on the impact of a high CBD cannabis extract, BRC-002, on patients with complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, and over a 6-week treatment period, followed by 2 weeks of follow-up. Researchers assess pain, inflammation, and psychological outcomes, and participants must have been cannabis free for at least 30 days prior to enrollment. The trial will run through June of 2029, you guys. Well, I can't wait to hear what our doctors have to say about this, all these trials and maybe some tribulations and whatnot. And they're looking for studies. So if you want to be part of any of these studies, make sure you reach out to the University of California, San Diego, and you might be able to get to try some free weed, or maybe they're just going to psych your mind and give you some of that placebo stuff and just tell you it's weed and it's really not. I can't wait to see what
Jason,
happens.
I think they should study you.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I do. Well, I got questions. I need answers, and I think a good, properly handled medical study could answer them. Mm-hmm. Some of them. Mm-hmm. Some of them.
I've been saying that too. They should definitely be studying Jason. I'm serious.
I am too.
I'm glad you guys have some agreement on that. Maybe you guys get some brownies today at the end of the show.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Dr. T?
Yes, let's go.
All of those studies, this is probably our tax dollar at work, yep. Right? This UCSD is, I think, the home of the California Medical Cannabis Research Center. So, so I think it is. They're using our tax dollars. They've done some good studies in the past. This is a long discussion for me because I favor whole plant medicine. And out of the 4 studies, it sounds like maybe only one of them was the one that said 5.1%. I don't know. Seems a little low too in terms of the 5.1 THC.
That's what I thought too, Dr. T. I was like, I feel like this study is set up for failure. Like even if someone was going to go buy this stuff, no one would buy it because its testing numbers are so low.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough to do a placebo study with flower because how do you fake flower? People usually, when you're smoking it, people usually immediately notice whether it's a placebo or not. And so that creates a bias.
They're just giving them THCA, Dr. T.
Well, they're all getting THC. If it's flower, that's what's in flower, right?
Oh man, sometimes it's just too easy. Sometimes it's too good. Dr. Mark, what do you think about all these studies?
I think it's good. I think this is first of all, yes, that is a CMC down there in San Diego, Jean, and yeah, I mean, more studies we do, the more we can show that this is no longer just anecdotal. It's conducted in a appropriate fashion. We can see that cannabis does indeed have a effect, and it's safe and efficacious. And I think it should be the first line of medicine before prescribing pharmaceuticals with all their litanies of side effects and cost. And it's a really powerful thing when you can grow your own medicine in your backyard. And you don't need to go to a drugstore and tap into the, medical insurance teat to basically get better. You can get better with stuff that you can grow yourself. That's why, again, I fall into the camp of Schedule 3 is not really what we need. We really need Schedule 0 or Schedule nothing. It's not dangerous, so it doesn't need to be controlled. But I think that these tests, again, in clinical settings, done by people who are used to maybe doing testing of more traditional FDA type medicines, can help win skeptical doctors over. We need more doctors like Jean and less doctors who are just going to be drones of the pharmaceutical industry, just willing to write scripts for pills. I think it's good.
I do think that the whole, the traditional industry is used to doing single agent, and most of these are 1 or 2 agent. They're not really studying whole plant because they just don't know how, and so it falls into the current paradigm where we really need a paradigm shift and understanding how to study whole plant variable products, which is really what the people prefer. I've been able to prescribe synthetic THC since I became a doctor, but patients don't want that. They want the whole plant, and so let's study what patients are using.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a reason why it grows that way, right? Like it's designed. God wasn't like, let me just put all this extra stuff in here that's not necessary just for funsies.
Absolutely, and I think whole plant studies are going to make a comeback thanks to cannabis, rather than the single agent pursuits that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm kind of confused a little bit on this. I think it is good that they have some HIV AIDS studies in here, but I thought we've already gone past that whole medical conundrum of testing in regards. I mean, pretty much every doctor knows that treats HIV and AIDS patients that cannabis helps them in a number of different ways. So what is the need for this focus on HIV and AIDS with cannabis, doctors?
Some guy who had a lab studying HIV.
Trials. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's just some, there's some guy had a lab and he petitioned the CMC to
okay, so he
use his lab. HIV is interesting and always important to study the effects on HIV. But why particularly? I mean, just the guy with the fMRI, he had a way he had a biomarker. The only biomarker that I didn't understand was that what was it that you called it, Jason? The acid there. Do you know what that is, Mark?
Hold on.
You just want Jason to say that word he can't say again, Dr.
Yeah, exactly. Homovanillic.
Hold on.
What is that, Mark?
Dr. Mark.
You're on mute.
Mr. Mute.
Sorry about that. So that was homovanillic?
Yeah, homovanillic, yes.
Okay, let me do a quick search on that and I'll get back to you. Hold on.
Oh, man.
It's the title track.
Yeah, I don't know this off the top of my head. I have to use the internet too. So.
Well, if you get the word right, we'll give you a special
metabolite of dopamine.
Yeah, so it's a metabolite of dopamine used to assess central nervous system dopamine metabolism. It can be measured in either urine or cerebral spinal fluid. So it looks just like it's a metabolite. That's all.
They're wanting to see how much the products activate the dopamine reward system.
Yeah, kind of like that, probably, I would imagine. So, I mean, is that connection valid, John? I mean, do they know that there's a connection between the two?
Well, THC does activate the dopamine reward system. CBD might do the opposite.
5% isn't much of a reward.
And usually the dopamine reward system is, and they want to use it as an indication of addiction, but they may be trying to prove something negative about THC anyway.
Usually, right?
That's usually how it goes. Well, that was a fun little tale, and we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll into Dr. Gene Tallyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you should be getting your doctor's recommendations to make sure you can avoid all these erroneous taxes. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Gene Tallyrand.
Thanks, Jason. Not completely avoid, unfortunately.
If you get the stay card, you can.
Completely no, only a portion of the. It doesn't reduce it to zero, right? Anyway, happy Friday the 13th, everyone. So my story today comes from KFF Health News. As cannabis users age, health risks appear to grow, by Paula Spann. Benjamin Hahn, a geriatrician and addiction medicine specialist at, again, the University of California, San Diego, tells his students a cautionary tale about a 76-year-old patient who, like many older people, struggled with insomnia. She had problems falling asleep, and she'd wake up in the middle of the night, he said. So her daughter bought her some sleep gummies, edible cannabis candies. She tried a gummy after dinner and waited for an hour, Hahn said. Feeling no effects, waited for half an hour, Hahn said. Feeling no effects, she took another gummy, then one more, a total of 4 over several hours. Hahn advises patients who are trying cannabis to start low, go slow, beginning with products that contain just 1 or 2.5 milligrams of THC, the psychoactive ingredient that many cannabis products contain. Each of the 4 gummies this patient took, however, contained 10 milligrams. The woman started experiencing intense anxiety and heart palpitations. A young person might have shrugged off such symptoms, but this patient had high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation, a heart arrhythmia. Frightened, she went to an emergency room. Lab tests and a cardiac workup determined the woman wasn't having a heart attack, and the staff sent her home. Her only lingering symptom was embarrassment, Hahn said. But what if she'd grown dizzy or lightheaded and was hurt in a fall, he said. He has had many patients injured in falls or while driving after using cannabis. What if the cannabis had interacted with the prescription drugs she took? As a geriatrician, it gives me pause, Hahn said. Our brains are more sensitive to psychoactive substances as we age. A wave of recent research points to reasons for concern for older users, with cannabis-related emergency room visits and hospitalizations rising, and a Canadian study finding an association between such acute care and subsequent dementia. Older people are more apt than younger ones to try cannabis for therapeutic reasons. To relieve chronic pain, insomnia, or mental health issues, though evidence of its effectiveness in addressing those conditions remains thin, experts said. In an analysis of national survey data published June 2nd in the medical journal JAMA, Hahn and his colleagues reported that current cannabis use, defined as within the previous month, had jumped among adults aged 65 or older to 7% of respondents in 2023, from 4.8% in 2021. In 2005, he pointed out fewer than 1% of older adults reported using cannabis in the previous year. The cannabis industry also markets its products to older adults. The True Leaf chain gives a 10% discount, both in stores and online, to those it calls wisdom customers, 55 or older. Rise dispensaries ran a year-long cannabis education and empowerment program for 2 senior centers in Paterson, New Jersey, including field trips to its dispensary. I've done that too. The industry has many satisfied older customers. Liz Logan, 67, a freelance writer in Bronxville, New York, had grappled with sleep problems and anxiety for years, but the conditions grew particularly debilitating 2 years ago, as her husband was dying of Parkinson's disease. I'd frequently be awake until 5 or 6 in the morning, she said. It makes you crazy. Looking online for edible cannabis products, Logan found that gummies containing cannabidiol, known as CBD, alone didn't help. But those with 10 milligrams of THC did the trick without noticeable side effects. I don't worry about sleep anymore, she said. I've solved a lifelong problem. It's not reflective of everyone who's using cannabis, cautioned Daniel Moran, an investigator at the Bruyere Health Research Institute in Ottawa and lead author of the Ontario study. It's capturing people with more severe patterns. This article continues to discuss cannabis use disorder and its prevalence among veterans. It also proposes a higher incidence of dementia among older cannabis users. However, contradictory evidence suggests that older cannabis users have improved cognition compared to non-cannabis users. It's likely that the population studied by Dr. Han and his colleagues has more severe conditions, thus the increase in dementia. Cannabis in this case may be helpful in symptoms of dementia, particularly Alzheimer's. None of these studies were randomized clinical trials, the researchers pointed out. They were observational and could not ascertain causality. Some cannabis research doesn't specify whether users are smoking, vaping, ingesting, or rubbing topical cannabis on aching joints. Other studies lack demographic information. It's very frustrating that we're not able to provide more individual guidance on safer modes of consumption and on amounts of use that seem lower risk, Ron said. It just highlights that the rapid expansion of regular cannabis use in North America is outpacing our knowledge. Still, given the health vulnerabilities of older people and the far greater potency of current cannabis products compared with the weed of their youth, he and other researchers are urged caution. This article brings up certain important ideas. First, doctors are able to provide guidance to patients. So even though there are not a lot of studies, you can still provide guidance if you look at the studies that are there. I've been doing this for over 25 years. Yes, it requires me to work with older patients in particular and suggest the best way to use cannabis so that they might avoid the emergency room. Older patients tend to have slower digestion and metabolism. They should wait a full hour, not half an hour. So that's where Dr. Han went wrong before assessing the effects of cannabis. More specific guidance suggesting an upper limit of 10 milligrams on the first day of use might have avoided the adverse effects in this case. As well, the author did not mention CBN, a non-psychoactive cannabinoid that has recent evidence as more effective than melatonin for sleep. Cannabis healthcare specialists would have brought up this option to an elderly patient. So I'm pointing to Dr. Han as the problem here, not the patient, not the cannabis industry. All in all, I suggest that doctors read the studies, learn about the endocannabinoid system, and use their knowledge to better guide elderly patients. Dispensary owners should market to elderly patients, but not sell them weed like they know how to do. There are many unemployed graduates of University of Maryland's Masters in Cannabis Pharmacology program that could help dispensaries guide elderly customers in purchasing and using cannabis in a way that's appropriate for their age. So, Jason, does your dispensary market to the elderly? This is Dr. Jean Tallyrand with High 9 News.
Well, Dr. T, I think senior citizens are some of the best customers. I totally agree with that. They have disposable income, so you don't really have to worry about them being able to pay for things. And then at the same time too, they're not like your traditional customers that are coming in there for whatever is hyped up on the shelf, you know what I'm saying? Unless they're trying to buy something for like maybe their grandkids or their kids or something like that for the holidays or something, which does happen around the holidays, because they do like to get gifts and stocking stuffers and different things for their family members, and then that way they can seem like that they're the cool grandparent and whatnot, because they knew what their kids or grandkids actually liked. So from that sense, but I think CUD is a pile of crap, Dr. T. I don't think that it exists. I think this is just something that doctors made up a term and are trying to label on people and whatnot. I don't think it exists at all. I think it's total BS.
I mean, I agree with Jason, actually, for once today.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Look at it happen. It's a beautiful day. Look what God did. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is about bioavailability, and so older people's bodies metabolize things and just process things differently. And so it's I think that's one of the most difficult things. Like, I'm not a doctor, but I've definitely worked with a bunch of people who are trying to integrate cannabis in a medicinal way, right? And it's a trial and error process. You have to understand. And I think, Dr. T, what's your experience with patients like that? Because everybody's body's different, and sometimes I get it, especially with older people. They get frustrated. They're like, "Well, this made me too high, or this didn't work at all. I'm not trying that."
Not only that, Jenny Beth, is everyone's body different, but at the same time, everybody's their body changes over time, because after every 8 years, every single cell in your body has passed away, and so in essence, you are a 100% completely new person at that point. Right, Dr. T?
I tend to look at customers or patients in three ways. There's the cannabis connoisseur, somebody who uses every day, knows all about the weed. There's the cannabis savvy, somebody who's used it in the past. And there's the cannabis naive, somebody who's never used it. And I approach them differently depending on their past experience as well as their age.
Interesting. I noticed that you like to classify your patients the same way you like to classify your weed, Dr. T.
The steps are characterization, classification, stratification, correlation, and certification. Those are my steps.
Look at that. Dr. Mark, what do you got to say about all this CUD?
Yeah, I don't know that I buy into the whole CUD thing. I mean, we were just talking about the dopamine connection between dopamine reward. You know, like when you either eat something you like or get some good news and you feel good about that, that's your dopamine system that's giving you that award. And certainly, like Dr. T, you're going to agree with me, I'm sure, that there's a connection between addiction and that reward that you feel. You know, your body physically dependent on that. That said, you know, just talking about senior citizens and cannabis use, I mean, I think one of the things I'm always concerned about, especially with elderly folks who've never used cannabis, it's one thing if you use cannabis like back in the 60s and 70s, and now they're having aches and pains and they want to, you know, maybe consider it as part of their, you know, regimen these days. If you're unfamiliar with the effects of cannabis, I think it could be very concerning to elderly patients. You know, I had a friend whose mom is no longer with us, but while she was here, she was diagnosed with breast cancer in both breasts and was slated to either have a full mastectomy, but certainly at like 85 years old, she's just like, really? You know, I've lived all my life with these things and I'm going to take them to the grave with me. Yeah, she was, you know, but I remember when I said to my friend, I was like, hey, Peter, maybe we ought to, you know, maybe start her with a really low dose gummy or something like that. And so, yeah, he went to a dispensary and got some gummies, and she didn't like the feeling. She didn't like the dizziness, the displacement, the dysphoria. It was just like very foreign to her. I mean, for somebody who'd gotten high in the 60s or 70s, used to smoke weed, they would remember that feeling, right, Dr. T? And I think her reaction was like, "Ooh, that stuff's terrible. Get that stuff away from me." And you know, she passed shortly thereafter, and you know, God only knows if, you know, her cannabis use could have, you know, prolonged her life or maybe reduced suffering. But I'm always concerned, John.
If you have a cannabis naive patient, you definitely want to start with CBD or CBN, not THC. You know, start them on something that's not going to get them high.
That's not going to get them high. Yeah, and the thing I'm always concerned about, like with my parents, you know, my dad's recently started taking some CBD, but my dad takes 2 handfuls of pharmaceuticals twice a day. You know, it's like, you know, this is for my blood pressure. This is for my cholesterol. This is for my gout. This is for my this. This is for my glaucoma. You know, so he takes those down, washes them down with a Bud Light, and how those? Yeah, but you know, I mean, he's 89. He could be 89 years old, and you know, he's like,
he gets to decide what he does with his body, right?
Yeah, but it's like, I'm always concerned with people who are on FDA medications and how the cannabis and cannabinoids can potentially have bad drug interactions. You know.
Well, rule of
I
thumb is
don't
just
know. I mean,
separate it by 2 hours. You know, you're
yeah.
going through the liver, you're metabolizing, separated by 2 hours, so the effect of CBD or THC on the liver proteins are enzymes are not affecting the regular medication. It's a simple. You just need to be conscious of when you're taking your medicines and when you're taking.
Well, and older people suffer from like vertigo and stuff where they feel cattywampus all the time anyway. So I can imagine if, you know, you're not used to the effects of cannabis, adding something else that makes you feel off kilter is maybe not the most comforting thing in the world. Theo.
Get him, Theo. Bite him. Bite him. Bite her.
We're going back to air jail. Come here, Theo.
There he is. There's Theo. Yes. Jesse, you have any thoughts on this? I mean, you have a pretty high tolerance to cannabis. You think this CUD, I think it's total bullshit.
Well, I've said before, this is just a definition that's created by psychiatrists.
It's propaganda.
And well, I wouldn't say that it's propaganda. I think that it's something that is, it's a bias. Like they expect that every substance that causes any kind of alteration or mental alteration must have some addictive properties, and it's just not correlated with the other addictive substances. It doesn't have physical effects. If you could smoke all day every day for 20 years and then stop, you're not going to get tremors or night sweats or weird problems. You may have a little bit of like noticed personality things, like you might be a little more on edge if you're used to smoking all day every day. Your cortisol levels or something might change, right? So there might be some things that happen, but they're not going to be anything like if you did heroin for 20 years and then quit.
Yeah.
Or if you drank all day every day and then quit. Like,
or nicotine. Nicotine is very
right.
Yeah.
So there's all these substances that they're used to having some kind of use disorder, where there's an addiction happening and the body is responding in a really intense way. And they just expect that because cannabis also alters your body chemistry, it must do the same thing. And so they've just created CUD by de facto. And I think that's a huge fail on the part of the medical industry.
Right. And they should be more specific. There are 3 types of cannabis. Type 2 and type 3, I don't know if they're talking about type 1. They're not talking about type 3.
Right, exactly. And even still, type 1, I mean, I think the one definition that they kind of get really close to is that I have seen people do destructive things to stay high on weed. I have seen people skip their rent. I have to buy weed. I have seen people do destructive things. It's rare, but I
haven't seen that.
Degenerate.
Yeah, those are just degenerate people.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is like, there's not a holistic look at that. It's just like, oh, somebody skipped their rent and they smoke weed, so therefore they have CUD. That's just not, that's bad science.
Causation versus correlation. This is the problem with all these studies.
Exactly. They're not
because Bob doesn't pay his bills. Weed is not the problem. Bob is the problem.
Bob doesn't pay his bills, and Bob smokes weed, so he has CUD.
Yeah.
No, Bob might have some other mental problem that goes back to his childhood. He could have been abused. Who knows? Like,
Bob might be fiscally irresponsible, much like myself. You know, there's a lot of things.
Maybe he's just a victim of the cannabis industry and doesn't have banking.
Then how'd he buy the weed, Jason, with his good looks? Maybe Bob's hot.
With cash. I mean,
Bob is cash only.
Cash only,
He
just
has
like the weed
CUD.
stores. Cash only. You know what I mean?
He must smoke a lot of weed because rent, you know, is a month's worth of rent is like a year's worth of weed.
Fair enough. Especially
Bob
if you
rents a bedroom in Oklahoma.
That he spends $100 a month. That's pretty good.
Man.
How about alcohol use disorder? Where's the concern about alcohol use disorder?
They have a different term for that. It's called alcoholism, Dr. Mark.
Alcoholism, right?
Yeah.
So where's the concern over that? Where's the concern about high fructose corn syrup use disorder?
What about what's the term for sugar? When you eat too much sugar?
Diabetes.
80s.
No, that's a condition. That's a condition. That's something that happens because of that. What is it if you're addicted to sugar? What's it called?
Being an American?
Being too sweet?
I believe they call
Called
it
human. Human.
Just saying. All right, whatever, you guys.
All right, well,
We're going to keep
that
this
was a
train
good one.
rolling. Yeah, we're going to roll right into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Enough to orally kill the average size.
Yes, and we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And make sure you go into the description below and check out all the sponsors that help us with the show, make this all happen for you every day. And use the link to order yourself a case directly to your door of Liberal Tears. 150 milligrams of caffeine in every can. Patriot Peach. You know, no snowflakes in there, but they will make your liberal friends cry, and it's always a good time. You know what I'm saying? And make sure you get a case sent to your door today. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Oh shit, were we on air while I'm yelling at the dogs?
And we are back, you guys.
Thank God. All right, from the shores of Lake Champlain, it looks like he's in his office today, even though he's kicked those kids out for the summer, because fuck them kids. Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, thank you. The guy is cutting the grass right outside my window here. Can you hear the lawnmower?
No.
Would have never known it if you hadn't told us.
Okay,
No.
good. Because I could hear the lawnmower. I didn't know if you could. Okay, happy Friday the 13th. Oh my God, how many times is Friday the 13th
Yes.
actually end up being a bad day? I always find that Friday the 13th is a good day, and it's a good day to be lucky. So I hope you got some great plans for the weekend, and I hope cannabis is part of it. So today, my story is from the laboratory of Dr. Robert Strongen, the Department of Chemistry, Portland State University in Portland, Oregon. You know, Dr. Strongen has been studying the degradation products from vaping, and the title of this article, which was published on June the 8th, is Cannabis Concentrate Vaping Chemistry. So Professor Strongen has published a variety of different papers. This is kind of just a review of the work that they're doing in the lab, and I'll read through the background, methods, findings, and conclusion. We can talk about it after. So this review article addresses the vaping chemistry of manufactured cannabis concentrates, a topic that remains under research despite widespread availability and growing popularity of these products, right? Who doesn't like a good vape pen, right? We all do, don't we? So, given their current prevalence and the fact that many of the findings discussed herein are from early stage investigations, further research is essential to fully assess the public health risks associated with concentrate use. The purpose of this article is to help bridge this knowledge gap by outlining technical challenges of studying vaping cannabis concentrates and to present evidence-based data concerning toxicant exposures as a foundation for further investigation. So the methods that were used here: a search of cannabis concentrates, vaping, the dates range from 2019 to 2025 on Google Scholar, returned approximately 2,700 hits. So it sounds like it's something that people are going to the internet and researching. Cannabis concentrate is defined as a sample containing at least 50% by weight cannabinoids. So that would be things like BHO and ice hash and rosin. Those things typically have concentrations greater than 50%. In addition to our group's articles, the search results contain 6 manuscripts that describe at least a partial focus on the molecular emissions specifically derived from vaping or dabbing samples that included cannabis concentrates. Studying cannabis concentrate vaping poses distinct technical challenges that differ from those associated with electronic nicotine delivery systems. Emissions from vaping concentrates contain a substantial portion of harmful aerosol toxicants that include isoprene, 3-methylcrotonaldehyde, 3-methyl-1-butene, 2-methyl-2-butene. Moreover, the concentrate formulations contain hazardous additives such as pine rosin. Gross. You know what pine rosin is used for? Does anybody know what pine rosin is used for?
Oh,
Baseball.
Isn't that what they make maple syrup?
Baseball, right.
That's not what they make. That's not what they make maple syrup out of, Dr. Mark?
It's also used for rosining up your bow before you play fiddle, so it gives a certain amount of resistance to the bow that you use when you play.
Is that pine rosin that they use for that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I know that's a type of rosin, but I didn't know it was pine.
They rosin up the bow, right? That's what they call it. Okay, moreover, I already said that. As with nicotine vaping, presence of oxygen also plays a crucial role in driving the formation of many toxic chemical degradation products during vaping. Since legalization of recreational cannabis, concentrates have become one of the most rapidly expanding segments in the U.S. cannabis market. However, research into the specific healths of vaping these products has significantly lagged given their widespread use. Studies presented in this review article highlight the potential for exposure to known toxicants during cannabis vaping. So it's a review article based on their previous articles. And what you find here, again, is that some of the degradation products are things you should be inhaling deep into your lungs. Also, some of these additives that are sometimes added to cannabis concentrates, like terpenes or other flavors, can also have degradation chemistries that happen on heating. And so I'm not going to go through all of this, but let's just go down to the conclusions down here. Basically, what they come to is early studies of cannabis vaping found aldehyde emissions. Aldehydes in generally are bad. You don't want to be inhaling aldehydes. On aerosolizing BHO, so BHO is butane extracts mixed with polypropylene or propylene glycol. Oh my God. You should never be propylene glycol in a cannabis vape product. If you have to add propylene glycol, you haven't done your cannabis extraction right. To better model cannabis concentrate vaping, they go into this long list of things that you should be looking for in terms of what's in the concentrate itself. Typically when you buy like a vape cartridge, they don't always come with a COA, so you don't always know everything that's in there. They might have like the cannabinoid content or the terpene content, but everything else that's in there could be problematic. In particular, the terpene myrcene, which they've added in increasing amounts to formulations, and what they find is that when you vape concentrates that are high in terpene, or this single terpene myrcene, it degrades into isoprene, which isn't something that you should be inhaling, kind of like a component of gasoline. So, this market basically got turned on because of the convenience of a vape pen. I mean, unlike a joint, you can take a hit of a vape pen and go back to dinner with your in-laws and they don't smell anything. So it's super convenient, but you're heating up cannabis oil concentrates inside a device that's probably manufactured in the People's Republic of China. For a long time, they were concerned with shiny metal. So anything that looks like it could be like, chrome, like the key ring here, anything that could be shiny metals could be contaminated with lead, mercury, cadmium, or arsenic. We just don't know. There was sort of like a switch to ceramic vaporizers, but ceramics could easily be contaminated with heavy metals just like metals can be. So I don't know that there's a good solution to this problem. People love vape pens, they love dabbing. I'm a dabber. I dab concentrates at high temperature, and certainly I pull away from the dabbering. I'm coughing, and that's probably due to some exposure to toxicants. We don't really see people dropping dead from smoking vape pens or smoking dabs on rigs. So I wonder again if there's kind of like a wash here. The medical benefits of the cannabinoids are protecting your body from the damages of these potential toxicants. Maybe that's a fact. Maybe, again, a lifetime of vaping as opposed to smoking could see health impacts. Smoking, certainly, you could see health impacts. Just because you're smoking cannabis and you're not smoking tobacco doesn't mean it's safe and you're going to have no issues from all the tar. And, look what ends up coming out in your bong, right? All that stuff ends up going into your lungs. Is that good? Putting all that black stuff into your lungs? Probably not. So I don't know that there is a good solution that's going to be completely safe. One of the reasons why doctors probably don't recommend vaping or don't recommend smoking is for these reasons. Your lungs are very delicate tissue, and there's a very intricate set of chemistries that needs to happen in your lungs for you to stay alive, right? You need to be able to exchange the CO2 that's in your blue blood, right, that travels through your veins. It needs to pick up oxygen. And certainly inhaling things into your lungs could start messing with that natural function that you absolutely need to stay alive. So that's the story today. I'd be interested in what everyone else has to say. I don't know if there's an easy solution to this, but I think more research is going to be required to make sure that, vaping doesn't really have really deleterious impacts on human health.
Interesting, Dr. Mark. Super.
Yeah, we lost Dr. T and Jenny, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Jenny had to drop. I'm not sure. Dr. T just shut his camera off, or if he's still there trying to get back in or not. But man, Jesse, what are your thoughts on this? All this chemistry going on.
I kind of wasn't listening. I'm
shit.
In the chat pretty deep. I'm in the chat pretty deep.
In the chat pretty deep.
One of our listeners got muted for a while for no reason, so I've been talking about that in the chat because it's kind of upsetting.
Well, that's kind of weird.
It is weird.
That's very, very weird.
There's nothing weird about somebody hijacking the chat for their own.
Anthony, that's not appropriate, bro.
Yeah, he did.
It's not appropriate. Anthony, it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. End of story.
Stupid event info. Nobody else could vote.
Anthony, it's not appropriate, bro.
Every time he's on here.
It's Anthony. It's not appropriate.
Absolutely.
Neither is what he's doing, but I guess you guys don't have a moderator no more. Right?
He's an audience member, bro. Stop the ridiculousness.
Public place to post your event info.
Anthony, you're not the judge of that, Anthony. You're not the judge of that.
Exactly.